What's up guys, Max here for Destructoid. I want to tell you about a couple of very interesting virtual reality experiences I underwent at PAX Prime this year. Normally, you know, when we do a PAX Prime video or an event video when I play a game, I just stand in front of a microphone and go, oh, I played the game, I did the thing, you jump over the man. But more and more, when I go and play a virtual reality game, for lack of a better word, using the Oculus Rift or a similar VR headset, it seems like so much more of an experience that it really warrants more of an in-depth discussion and kind of actually taking a chance to digest what it was like, because you know, games are kind of this quantifiable thing. You have a controller, you sit down, and you look at the screen and you play it, whereas having something on your face is frequently really just pushing the boundaries of immersion, for lack of a better word. The two games I checked out, one was Darknet, which is definitely a game. It is a game that's inspired by how cyberspace and hacking are described in William Gibson's kind of prototypical cyberpunk novel, Neuromancer. If you've read that, you're probably aware of the fact that this, back then when that book was written in 1983 or so, there was no internet to be spoken of. There was nothing that it could be compared to, and the way Gibson described it is very much as this physical space, and hacking is very much a kind of a full body, out of body experience. And you know, as hacker characters put on these trodes, they get jacked in using cyberspace decks, and then they go into this kind of virtual space, kind of the way you'd see in the movie Hackers.
Hack the planet! Hack the planet!
Shut up and get in the car!
Hack the planet!
In his sense, it's like you're basically doing a flight simulator of a landscape that entirely represents data. In Darknet, it feels much more like a kind of inner space approach. It feels very organic. The idea is you're trying to take over certain areas of information. You're trying to hack like one big node, and the way the game kind of progresses is sort of like a cross between, I want to say, Risk and Minesweeper with a little bit of Chinese checkers thrown in. At a glance, it is not an interesting looking game. Like, you see people playing it. I was watching people over their shoulders, and I was like, this looks like a pretty bland little puzzle game. But once you get in there, once you get the Oculus on your face, and if you're a cyberpunk fan like I am, it really kind of hits home that you're basically doing a simulation of this kind of otherworldly manner of hacking, but it's combined with a very simple and very addictive gameplay approach. It is definitely a game. It's not like so many other Oculus kind of experiences we've seen. A tech demo. This is a game that was designed with the Oculus in mind. And how it works is you're sending out your different viruses, and you're trying to basically take over entire areas. And sometimes that involves taking down a firewall. Sometimes that involves sending out a Hydra, which is kind of like an automated series of viruses. And I mean, it's like Risk. You're trying to take over a whole map. But what's crazy is the sense of actually really being in this game. When you go into one of these smaller nodes, you can look over your shoulder and see behind you this huge map, and it really it doesn't look like a game that would have a sense of physical space, but when you're in there, it totally does. The good news is this is a game that you can actually acquire in the near future. This is going to be a launch title for the Samsung Gear VR, which is sort of a spin-off of the Oculus that works with the Galaxy Note. So you can check it out on there and actually play it. I mean, I think a lot of the games that I've seen so far have been, you know, they've been existing games, first-person shooters. The first thing I did on Oculus was Doom, and then kind of sort of tech demo stuff. This is the first time a game has really been made, at least that I've played, for the Oculus. Like, it's meant to be experienced through a VR headset. It's entirely built from the ground up. A lot of stuff we've seen kind of with the Oculus is like, here's something that we're familiar with in a non-VR space. Let's try and kind of retrofit it, which to me is kind of like when we have touch games that have a virtual controller, and it's like you're really not making the most of the interface. But in this case, where you look is where you're aiming, and you've got basically two buttons on a controller that you're using to make all the appropriate decisions. I'm doing a shit job describing this game, but so while I was riding high on this kind of cyberpunk thrill of playing Darknet, I got to jump into Sound Self, which is very much the opposite type of experience. Sound Self is, let's see, a virtual reality guided meditation program, if that makes any sense. It basically combines video game stuff, for lack of a better word, with, you know, 1,000-year-old meditation techniques that you might see, you know, Tibetan monks using. How it works is I was led into a tent, a small actual physical tent on the PAX floor, and I was laid down on the ground on top of a vibrating mat, like one of those kind of massage pads you'd see at the, you know, Sharper Image or Brookstone. I had the Oculus put on my face along with some headphones, and then this thing was attached around my neck that was it's a microphone that goes over your larynx. From that point, it's basically a sensory deprivation chamber. Whatever I'm hearing is through the headphones, whatever I'm seeing is through the Oculus, and what I'm hearing and seeing is entirely based on the noises I'm making. Basically, the first thing you see is just breathe. And so I breathe in, and as I breathe in, the microphone picks up the noises my throat is making, and I start to see these kind of, you know, think Winamp visualizations, these very psychedelic sort of magic eye effects. And you can only breathe in for so long, and so it says chant, and I just go, and then kind of like Chris Farley going in the fan and Tommy Boy, it's like you start doing that, and you see stranger and stranger visual stuff. So Sound Self basically just says, you know, breathe, chant, let yourself fall in. Those are the only commands you're given. And then from that point forward, it's pretty much just experimentation in this virtual space. And if you let yourself fall in, if you actually go with the whole breathe in, chant approach, and kind of really get into the whole sensory deprivation thing, it's quite a haunting experience. Now, normally this is something that you do for 15 minutes, like that was going to be a 15-minute demo. However, there's no hard stop. Like, there's no point where it's like, thank you for playing, the demo is over. It actually loops. I didn't know this, and I did it a little over three times in a row. So I was in this virtual reality meditation program for about 45 minutes, which was really, really fucking weird. I got tapped on the shoulder, and Robin, the guy who made it, was like, so you were in there for a good while, and I was like shaking. Like, I kind of wanted to cry, because I don't know if you've ever really kind of gotten in your own head and just meditated a bit, but it can be a very strange experience, and when you add in these psychedelic images and the fact that you're being encouraged to chant. So after I finished, they said, thank you for playing, which I thought was really funny, because this is very much one of those things that is very, very loosely a game. I wouldn't call this a game at all. I mean, I'd call this a game the same way a Magic Eye poster is a game, though that's definitely selling it short. It's a surreal thing. It's a very, very bizarre situation. I'm sure a lot of people are going to chalk it up to hippy-dippy bullshit, but I mean, you know, get inside your own head. Get in there. Get fucked up on your own thoughts. It's a weird experience. And going from that out of the tent onto the PAX show floor was a bit overwhelming, so I had to get out of there real fast. One quote-unquote game that I've been really fond of lately is Proteus, which if you haven't checked it out, it's a procedurally generated kind of open-world exploration game where everything around you makes noises. You're basically just hiking in this kind of expressionist landscape that is generated randomly, and there's little bunnies and owls and shit, but they just kind of look like blobs of color, and you can chase after them. And it's the kind of game you get lost in. I think a lot of people are like, that's not a game. You can't jump. You don't collect things. And it's like, I don't care. You know, this is people actually pushing the boundaries of what you can do, you know, with interactive technology, with something like the Oculus Rift, or with just game design in general. And it's exciting to see that. The big takeaway here is that it's cool to see people using the Oculus Rift to do much more conventional, here is a game, we designed a game for this technology. And then on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, it's cool to see people not being tied down to the idea of, let's create something that's very familiar and quantifiably a game. So kind of a rambly takeaway, but I don't know how you're supposed to talk about shit like this. It's exciting though. It's a nice change of pace from you know, the game where you're the white guy with the beard and the gun who shoots the shit and then jumps on the things. So if you're interested in I don't know, in cyberspace and the idea of virtual reality, I recommend picking up Mirror Shades. It's a cyberpunk anthology. A lot of good stuff in there. It's old though, so a lot of it seems kind of dated and silly. And then of course there's the classic Neuromancer. I have a gold leaf leather-bound copy of it, which is hilarious because it's a game about a cyberpunk future where everything's all digital and electronic. For all your gaming news, check out Destructoid.com. What do you guys think about VR? What do you make of it? Do you think this is a cool thing? Do you want to see more traditional games? Do you want to see more psychedelic crazy shit that doesn't make any sense? Do you want to see more Burning Man in your VR headsets and shit? Anyway, I'm Max Scoville. Take it easy. Namaste.